On a bright overcast day like today, the DJI Mavic Pro is still going to shoot beautiful photos and video, but for $25 or about £20, if you can make those videos and photos better, why wouldn't you? We've been sent a Mavic filter set from a company called PowerExtra. It includes 4 filters and we're going to be reviewing them in this video. Links to the products are in the video description. Please do comment below with your thoughts and remember to give the video a thumbs up. Also, we've been sent a load of DJI Mavic accessories that we'll be reviewing in the coming months. So click subscribe to be the first to see them. Enjoy the review. So this is the PowerExtra filter set for the Mavic Pro. It's about $25 for the entire set. That includes 4 filters in total. Now remember, $25 is about what you'd pay for one Polar Pro filter. So this is a budget set, but budget doesn't necessarily mean bad quality. Links to the products are in the video description if you want to go and have a look at the Amazon listing, but let's open it up and see what's inside. So this is quite neat. We get a nice little carry case here, which if you're going on holiday and you're transporting these filters around, that's going to be nice. And of course, because these are made of glass, you do not want to scratch them. So when you're not using any filters for your Mavic or your drone, be sure to store them away safely so you don't get them scratched. Especially if you're filming or shooting near beaches or sand, because sand kills filters. So inside this really nice quality case actually, we've got the 4 little filters, and there is actually room here for 2 additional filters, which if you've got your own spares, that could be quite neat. You also get a very small instruction manual, which is quite nice. And this talks you through what each of the filters do and when you should use them, which is a nice touch. You also get a filter cleaning cloth as well. You must never clean a filter with anything but a specialist cloth because you risk scratching them. We also get a nice little thank you card as well. And finally, you get some little stickers so that you can stick onto the foam padding here what the actual filter is. It does actually say on the rim of each filter exactly which one it is, but it's nice at first glance to just be able to take one of these stickers and stick it on the relevant position. So we'll have a closer look now at each one of the filters. So in the pack you get 4 filters. You get an ND4, an ND8, a CPL and a UV filter. They're all made of glass and they're constructed quite nicely. I've weighed them as well and they weigh in at 0.7 grams, which is nice and lightweight. That's very important with the Mavic because anything heavier may interrupt the way that the gimbal works. And these apparently don't interfere with the gimbal calibration on the Mavic, but we will test that later in this video. In terms of the quality of the filters like these are made up by layering coating onto the glass. These consist of between 17 and 19 coats of that layering, so they're pretty good quality in that respect. We'll now go through each of these filters to talk through how they're used and why. We'll start with the CPL filter, which stands for circular polarizing. It's a great filter for blocking scattered light from your camera sensor. So if you're photographing the sea, water, or actually anything that's shiny, it'll reduce shiny reflections and haze. They're designed with a circular gradient and therefore rotating the filter can increase or decrease the polarizing effect. But remember that at their full strength, a CPL filter can effectively darken your images by 2 EV stops, so you might need to adjust your camera settings. Next is the UV filter, which stands for ultraviolet. These are quite ineffective these days because camera lens glass generally has inbuilt UV filtering. However, UV filters are good for simply protecting your camera lens from the elements. For example, it might be worthwhile fitting your UV lens filter if you're shooting cars or dirt motorbikes which are kicking up grit, which might impact the camera on your Mavic. Therefore, think of a UV filter as a transparent lens cap. Next is the first of the 2 ND filters, and ND stands for neutral density. This is probably the most common filter that you'll be using. The ND4 filter effectively reduces the exposure of your camera by 2 stops. A stop is a photographic term for exposure steps. The benefit of an ND filter is that your image is darkened optically rather than digitally as when using the EV setting. That means that overall you get a better quality output. And finally, similar to the ND4 filter is an ND8 filter, which reduces exposure by 4 stops. You would generally use this filter on an even lighter day, for example if shooting on a sunny day at the beach. ND filters are a great addition to your drone accessory bag, and to get the most out of them, we filmed a 2-part tutorial on how and when to use them with the DJI app. Click the links on the screen to watch part 1, and there's also a part 2 which you can link from that video. So these PowerExtra filters for the Mavic are push-on, however, only ever apply a filter to the Mavic camera when the Mavic is turned off. So first of all, we're going to turn our Mavic off. And the reason for that is to avoid stressing the tiny little and very delicate motors that drive the gimbal. Take one of the filters out, turn the Mavic upside down just to make it much easier, and then take your filter and very gently push it onto the front of the Mavic camera. Like that. So that's the filter in place. It's a really nice snug fit. It doesn't feel like it's going to drop off, and as mentioned, these only weigh 0.7 of a gram, so they shouldn't affect gimbal calibration according to PowerExtra. We'll be testing that right next. But in general, yeah, very easy to fit those filters, and removal is the same. Support the camera with your fingers and then gently pull that filter off like that. So we're going to put that back in place now, and we're going to be firing up the Mavic, and we're going to run it through its calibration routine just to verify that these filters don't mess that up. So you can see that I've got the filter applied to the Mavic, and the Mavic is now turned on. You can see that I've also now got the app on screen, and so we're going to go through the calibration process for the gimbal to make sure that there is no interruption with it. So I'm going to press OK on the gimbal calibration and let it begin. The Mavic will now obviously go through its standard calibration routine. I'm going to let that complete and see the results at the end. So calibration has completed successfully, no errors at all. So luckily these filters are compatible with the gimbal calibration, no problems there. So I'm going to leave that CPL filter in place because they don't obstruct the gimbal lock or the gimbal cover at all. I'm going to put the gimbal lock back in place, put the cover back on the protector, and then we're going to head to the flight field now and test these filters out. Out at the field, and it's a beautiful day for testing these PowerExtra filters on our Mavic Pro. The sky is lovely and blue, and the Mavic of course is looking great as usual. Now we're going to start by comparing footage with and without the CPL filter attached. The shots were captured just minutes apart to avoid any dramatic changes in light or the weather. After all, we live in the UK and it changes by the minute. This first shot is without any filter, but now we're going to split the screen and show you virtually the same shot taken with the CPL filter attached. You can rotate the CPL filter on the camera lens to adjust the effect, and I've got the tint rotated towards the top of the sensor for this test. The grass immediately looks way more vibrant due to the reduction of around 2 exposure stops when using the CPL filter, but as the sky and scenery come into shot, the difference is quite dramatic. The contrast enhancement of the sky means that we can see crisp clouds which are not visible without the filter, and the circular gradient gives us a really nice effect top left of the image. In general, the image feels warmer and the contrast is just overall far better, and of course that means we've got less work to do in post-production. Scaling the images 400 times shows no obvious degradation in the quality of the image, therefore showing that the glass and the layering of these filters is good quality. In summary, I'm impressed with this CPL filter, which with some minor post-production, you can capture some pretty stunning scenic footage, and it's nice that it's also basically an ND4 filter as well. Next up are the 2 ND filters that we get in the set. ND filters are basically like sunglasses for your Mavic, and when shooting video without an ND filter, you can leave the video settings on auto, but that won't produce the best result. And that's because the software will keep altering the shutter speed during filming, and that can result in dull, inconsistent and choppy footage with a loss of that cinematic feel. So set your video mode to manual and use the common rule of thumb in the video industry, which is that your shutter speed should be twice the rate of your chosen frame rate. So if you're shooting at 50 frames per second, your shutter speed should be 100, and generally you'll leave the ISO at between 100 or 200. And these are the settings that we'll be using to test our ND filters. We launched the drone firstly without any ND filter attached at all, and we set our optimal manual settings as just mentioned, and here's the result. An image that's far overexposed and basically unusable. Next, the ND4 filter, which according to the DJI app MM reading of +2 should be perfect to neutralize the image, but still it's overexposed, suggesting that the filters aren't quite accurate in their rating. Finally, the ND8 filter, which should be sufficient to darken this image, but it's still not quite there. However, it is far better than without an ND filter, and with minor color grading, it's easily corrected. But in reality, in this weather, we should be shooting with an ND16. Now, if you're not worried about frame rate and shutter speed, stick the DJI app onto auto mode, and actually it's not that bad. We shot the same scene in auto with and without the PowerExtra ND filters, and clearly the best looking unedited shot is with the ND8 filter. The colors, vibrancy and contrast of the image is really good. You may wonder why we didn't include the UV filter as part of our comparison. Well, as mentioned, the difference would be barely noticeable, and the UV filter included is nice quality and should just really be used to protect your lens if you're shooting in dodgy conditions. As we mentioned, you can spend easily over $25 on just one Polar Pro filter for your Mavic, but for the basic consumer, I think that these filters are more than adequate. They don't degrade the quality of the image, they're well made, scratch resistant and durable, and for $25 for 4 filters and a nice case and cleaning cloth, I think that's hard to beat. Best of all, these filters are on offer right now via Amazon at only $22 or £22. US, UK and Europe buying links are in the video description, so take a look at those now and give them a click. We really hope that you've enjoyed this video. It's the first in a series of Mavic related reviews and tutorials, so comment below to let us know what you'd like to see next. We'd love a thumbs up, and of course if you aren't already subscribed, hit that button now because we will be announcing some giveaways for the Mavic very shortly. Thanks for watching.